Chapter 97. The white robe journey. The quiet backstage left no one able to follow her train of thought. Even the school leaders were a bit stunned. The boy, with his collar grabbed by Bai Lian, had an impactful view of her face at close quarters, leaving him momentarily unresponsive. Bai Lian calmly looked at him, repeating, "Do you have an ancient zither?" Yes, he quickly came to his senses. Many things in the school were sponsored by Jiangjing, and they especially loved to donate zithers to the school. The music room alone had 7 or 8 different types of zithers. Bai Lian nodded her head and let go of him. She handed her phone to Pu Ziohan standing nearby and methodically took off the 2 iridium rings from her fingers and gave them to her, politely saying, "Please help me get the zither." After a moment of surprise, the boy hurried next door to fetch the zither. The performance on the stage was already approaching its end. Bai Lian smoothed out her sleeves and looked at the school leaders, her chilly eyes devoid of any emotion, yet her flat tone sounded intimidating. "The program can be changed, right?" The once imposing school leaders subconsciously nodded. Bai Lian withdrew her gaze. "Then change it, I'll play the zither." The boy who went to get the zither just came back with it. Bai Lian took the zither and looked at the brown instrument for a long while before plucking a string. The somewhat harsh sound indicated that the zither was not of the highest quality, and its tone wasn't good either. She took her time to tune the instrument properly, but it was barely acceptable. The logistics staff understood Bai Lian's intentions. On-site pickups and zithers were readily available, making the performance convenient. They set up the zither stool and stand, and Bai Lian, with the zither in her arms, lifted the curtain and went on stage. Ren Wongshuan, who had been expecting Bai Lian to ask for her help, stood in place, frowning as she watched Bai Lian disappear backstage. "Pu Ziohan, does your classmate really know how to play the zither?" Someone else also caught on and quietly inquired of Pu Ziohan. Bai Lian had tuned the zither with quite a bearing. She didn't seem like an amateur. At this moment, Pu Ziohan was drenched in cold sweat. With little strength, she just hummed in affirmation. But her answer lacked confidence, and she was distracted. Most people present could tell from her state, and after exchanging glances, they seemed to understand that Bai Lian probably wasn't proficient with the zither. That made sense. If she were, she wouldn't have signed up for a sword dance. As the people from Class 15 went out to see the situation, there was a soft discussion backstage. "It's really sad. Not only was Longsword taken away, but now she has to play the zither. Especially since," someone cautiously glanced at Ren Wongshuan, "her next act is Ren Wongshuan's piano performance." "Ah, does she know that Ren Wongshuan is performing the piano?" The doubtful whispers constantly reached their ears. Ren Wongshuan had realized by now. She pulled her gaze back and scoffed. "I originally wanted to help her." Since the other party would rather force herself to play the zither than ask for help, there was nothing she could do. Outside, Pu Ziohan and the others had already come out to watch the stage. The zither stand and stool on the stage were all ready. Pu Ziohan and her group stood in the corner, their faces not looking very good. Zhang Shi's, not daring to return to the class, asked Pu Ziohan about the situation in a low voice. Pu Ziohan stared at the stage and shook her head with a wry smile. She has never practiced the zither. Not to mention the zither, Bai Lian had hardly ever touched the white-stringer longsword. Even Ren Wongshuan, who was proficient in piano, made time to practice every day. Bai Lian hadn't touched the zither recently, nor had she communicated with the stage crew about the rhythm in advance. The outcome of this zither performance was foreseeable. Zhang Shi's and the others suddenly felt a sinking feeling. Bai Lian, dressed in a ruquin, emerged from backstage, a spotlight shining on her pale face, and the sounds in the auditorium suddenly dropped considerably. But there were still people talking quietly, like the boys standing next to Jai Heng. They seemed to be keen on learning, continuously arguing over a biological heredity problem involving the probability of disease. But her offspring includes both sufferers and normal individuals. Jai Heng saw Bai Lian come out, seemingly to perform on the zither. Bai Lian hadn't told him about her performance, and he thought it had always been the zither. He had also heard from Jai Shaojun that Bai Lian seemed to have learned the zither in the Bai family, and Jai Heng didn't doubt it for a second. He turned his head back to the two debating boys and said, "She's a sufferer and her son is a sufferer. Her daughter is normal. It's clearly X-linked recessive inheritance. So the child that her daughter would have with a normal person has a 1 in 4 chance of being sick." The two students flipped to the back of their book for the answer. And sure enough, it was 1 in 4, an X-linked recessive disease. They looked at the elderly Jai Heng, whose hair was streaked with white, and asked with quivering voices, "Old gentlemen, were you a biology teacher before?" "Me, a tailor." The two of them stared at Jai Heng's solemn face, which did not seem to be joking, and were flustered. A tailor. Their tones sounded as if they were about to cry. "Yes," Jai Heng said expressionlessly as he watched them, then pointed at the stage and said, "My granddaughter is about to perform. You two be quiet and watch and remember to applaud later. Look, the clothes she's wearing were made by me." The two turned their gaze to the stage, looking at the exquisite clothes on Bai Lian. Was he really a tailor? Finally, the two of them started to cry. The first row. Director Chen saw Bai Lian come on stage, still holding a guzheng, and he suddenly sat up straight. He watched Bai Lian without blinking an eye. Today, many performances had been outstanding, but Director Chen watched them with a sort of absent-mindedness. He had seen many national-level live performances and the small shows in Xiangcheng, where he had managed to sit from 8 until after 11. It was solely out of respect for Jiang Fulai, and possibly for Bai Lian, who might perform. Unexpectedly, Director Chen, who had been indifferent to the performances, suddenly sat upright, which startled the principal. At the same time, a leader who had returned from backstage whispered to the principal what had happened there. The principal's smile froze on his face as he quickly whispered to Director Chen, "This guzheng performance is just a little amusement by the students and naturally cannot compare to the professionalism in Jiangjing. You are just here to enjoy the show." Director Chen did not take his eyes off her. He was still sitting straight, watching Bai Lian on stage. Bai Lian sat on the stool. Her hands gently rested on the guzheng, with her eyes slightly closed. The wide, gradient green skirt spread on the floor, with various colors of poppies blossoming in the wind at the hem that lay on the ground. The anxious and uneasy auditorium gradually quieted down. Bang! The brightest spotlight shone down in the center. Bai Lian, who had kept her eyes closed, suddenly opened them. Her eyes were no longer casual and indifferent, but dark and cold, brimming with a murderous air. She raised her hands, her fingers poised on the strings, and started to pluck them from top to bottom. The incredibly fluid arpeggio cascaded effortlessly from her hands. The sound of the guzheng was reserved and powerful, like a commanding presence. Even those without an understanding of music could feel the tension related by the guzheng, one note at a time. Director Chen in the first row abruptly stood up. He stared at Bai Lian, his hands trembling. It was just the prelude, but he recognized it. It was White Robe Army. It was the Bai family's army. Zeng! The sound of the guzheng became more and more urgent. Bai Lian raised her wrist, with her index finger and thumb ready, pressing the strings with decisive and crisp strums. Although she wasn't wearing artificial nails, The sound of the guzheng was not soft at all, but became firmer instead. One could faintly perceive through the passage of time, thousands of troops charging forth. Bai Lian, with her head half lowered, moved her fingertips swiftly across the strings. Her finger rolls matching her string shakes, her fingers moving so quickly they were almost a blur. The guzheng's sound, whether slow or fast, light or heavy, clashed into a symphony of swords and shadows. The guzheng's rapid and cutting sound, full of ups and downs, did not offer the audience a moment's respite. At its most exuberant peak, it quickly descended sharply. Where her jade fingers swept across, 1,000 troops charged forth. Zeng! The final note was like a taut string in everyone's minds, almost holding their breath. The rapid sound abruptly stopped, and Bai Lian's hands rested on the guzheng strings as she slowly lifted her head. The only screen behind her magnified her face. Her eyes were still pitch black, yet they seemed faintly bloodshot. Although the piece had come to an end, the hall was still utterly silent. Only the poppies on the stage fluttered elegantly, and only her slowly lifting peach blossom face seemed to weave together a picture interlacing 1,000 years with reality, an image etched in the vast cosmic wildness. Bai Lian's fingers pressed on the guzheng strings, pausing for 2 or 3 seconds before she stood up with her instrument. With one hand, she swept aside her skirt and took a small bow in thanks. In Class 15's gathering spot, Jiang He was held by Enning Zio, his mouth slightly open as he stared at the stage. Beside him, the tall and upright Jiang Fulai also quietly stood in place. His usually unemotional eyes were now surging with waves, his fingertips almost trembling. And in the first row, Director Chen's eyes were also almost red. Everyone on site was from Xiangcheng, and some understood Director Chen's feelings. This song, being Jiangjing University's anthem, just listening to it was enough to stir the hearts of the listeners. Imagine, this was a pre-war piece composed 1,000 years ago by the Bai family's young mistress, and played to send off the Bai family's army. Now, to think of it being almost perfectly recreated in such a spirited performance filled with pride and trembling excitement. This was the white clothing routine. No need for drums, no need for piano, no need for guitar. Just one guzheng sufficed to conjure the tumult of 1,000 troops. After Bai Lian stepped down, the venue remained quiet for nearly a minute. Then applause rumbled forth like thunder. Chen family head also snapped back to reality. He didn't say a word and immediately pursued to the backstage. By his side, the principal finally came to his senses too, and as he followed, he asked someone beside him, "Didn't you say that Bai Lian wasn't very good at it?" "Not very good at it." The school leader, who had just exploded in anger backstage. The 2 senior year hosts also finally recovered from the ups and downs, walking out from behind and continuing with a smile. "Next, please welcome the last performer." On this side, once Jiang Fulai came out, he saw Bai Lian standing lazily by the left side of the gate. She was waiting for Pu Ziohan, looking ahead with a serene gaze. A wooden hairpin on her head, standing against the wind in the backlight. The hem of her garment was gently lifted by the breeze. It seemed as if she could drift away with the wind at any moment. A half-yellow leaf gently landed on her shoulder. Jiang Fulai reached out and delicately plucked the leaf off, his fingertips still hooking onto a black mask. He lowered his eyes, his face hidden in shadow, and said softly, "What are you looking at here?" Following her gaze, he saw nothing but a teaching building blocking the view. Upon hearing the voice, Bai Lian tilted her head and replied, "Reflecting." "Reflecting." Jiang Fulai stood there gracefully, his light eyes narrowing slightly. "How did you get here?" Bai Lian suddenly remembered to ask. "Didn't Jiang He say that you were busy?" At this, the young master, Jiang, fell silent for a while. It wasn't the weekend, and the lab was awaiting his return to test new equipment. He had already ditched work for the entire morning. Yet no one dared to question young Master Jiang on this matter. Bai Lian was the first to ask. Chen family head didn't even dare to glance at Jiang Fulai that morning, let alone have the audacity to ask. For if he did, he wouldn't have time to cry before being sent off to the fighting ring by young Master Jiang. If he saw how bold Bai Lian was, he would certainly view her in a new light. During the silence of young Master Jiang, the Chen family head also came out from behind. Miss Bai, he always addressed Bai Lian with respect. But now, his respect came intermingled with indescribable excitement and admiration. After uttering Miss Bai, he looked up and saw Jiang Fulai by her side. The keep away or perish coldness from the morning was gone from him, but those faintly sweeping eyes were still chillingly aloof. Chen family head's next words were choked back in his throat. Bai Lian tilted her head lightly towards Chen family head, raising an eyebrow. Miss Bai, Chen family head braced himself to inquire, "You play the guzheng very well. May I ask where you studied?" He only listened to music. It seemed like the Chen family members were all missing a screw in their heads, failing to master the Liang technique and lacking talent for music. Even though Chen Baixuan was as clever as they come, his guzheng playing was as grating as sawing logs. The same went for the Chen family head. But not being able to play didn't mean not understanding. Having followed the old master, he had heard countless professional-level performances, yet none had been as shocking as today's. Aside from seeming a bit esoteric at the start, the performance had become increasingly exquisite as it progressed. The Chen family had paid attention to various guzheng schools under different associations, but there was no style like Bai Lian's, and he wanted to know where exactly she had come from. The Chen family head was genuinely curious. However, Bai Lian looked at him somewhat quizzically and responded, "Play very well." Bai Lian, in her 2 lifetimes combined, had nearly gone a year without touching the guzheng, so it was understandable that her proficiency was lacking. The main issue was that the guzheng given to her by the student council had 21 strings. But the guzheng she was previously accustomed to had only 18 strings. So she had just found it very awkward to play. Her performance was not even 1/10 of her normal standard. Fortunately, she played the white-robed journey. If it had been something else, it might have been even more unpleasant to listen to. Who was her teacher? She chose not to disgrace her mentor. Bai Lian silently wondered if the founding master had received her reflections and repentance. Isn't that so? Chief Chen looked at Bai Lian as if she were dissatisfied with herself and couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. He didn't understand guzheng, but he could still feel the music's power. With her performance, Bai Lian could now join the Jiangjing Guzheng Association, and with another 2 years of practice, it was not impossible for her to become a concert-level guzheng performer. Is Bai Lian setting such high standards for herself? Chief Chen wanted to continue questioning, but the slow, deliberate gaze of the person beside him made him shudder all of a sudden. Looking back, he indeed met Jiang Fulai's faint gaze. Chief Chen stiffened. Thankfully, the arrival of Pu Ziohan and others eased Chief Chen's stiffness at that moment. Pu Ziohan and Zhang Shi's were just as puzzled as Chief Chen, but with Jiang Fulai standing next to Bai Lian, not a single person dared to utter a word. "Tell my grandpa I'll go ahead to the school cafeteria and wait for him," Bai Lian said as she took over her phone and 2 pieces of iridium. Pu Ziohan nodded. Only after Bai Lian and the others had left did Zhang Shi's wipe his sweat, looking at Pu Ziohan and relaxing slightly. Who was that just now? He didn't specify whom, but Pu Ziohan knew he meant Jiang Fulai. Her lack of surprise at Zhang Shi's timidity was because even the top students would. Pu Ziohen did not answer, instead frowning. What's the deal with that longsword anyway? It's about Chen Wei calling me this morning. Zhang Shai's also calmed down. Over at the auditorium, because only a faint sound of the guzheng could be heard backstage. They missed the grand, overwhelming atmosphere of the live performance. When Bai Lian came out, she returned the guzheng to that boy, her calm face revealing nothing. No one backstage knew she had played the white robe journey. The logistics staff removed the guzheng, and several people lifted the piano for Ren Wongshuan's performance onto the stage. Ren Wongshuan, stroking her gorgeous custom dress and lifting the hem, stepped onto the stage and bowed slightly to the audience. As she sat down, her eyes lifted, and the smile at her lips suddenly froze. The first row of school leaders' seats in the auditorium were almost all empty. Even Elder Chen was gone. For whom was she performing then? Not knowing what had happened, Ren Wongshuan played a piece with a disturbed mind, and sparse applause followed from the auditorium. This had never happened before. Even if she hadn't put her heart into it today, Ren Wongshuan knew her piano performance had met the standard. Why was the auditorium's reaction so lukewarm? She was puzzled in her heart but showed no sign of it as she walked backstage, dragging her dress, feeling vaguely uneasy. The Chen family and the Ren family had both been busy with Chief Chen's underground market affairs lately. Nobody had found the time to come today. Ren Wongshuan changed into her regular clothes and went outside to find Chen Zhu. Students passing by were excitedly checking their phones, and she could distantly hear words like guzheng and so cool. A bad premonition faintly formed in Ren Wongshuan's heart. Chen Zhu was still sitting in the first row, quietly sitting with his phone, lost in thought. Where did the principal and the others go? Ren Wongshuan looked around. Chen Zhu came to his senses and looked up. They probably went to find Bai Lian, I guess. Bai Lian, Ren Wongshuan's heart clenched, yet her face remained indifferent. What do they want with her? Chen Zhu didn't respond, just tossed his phone to Ren Wongshuan. See for yourself. Ren Wongshuan caught the phone reflexively, looked down. It was the school's forum, with the hottest post just published. Bai Lian's guzheng performance was epic. I got goosebumps. You really missed out if you weren't there to see her live today. Video attached. Just 5 minutes long. There were already over 200 replies. As Ren Wongshuan scrolled further, all the posts were about Bai Lian's performance. She didn't see a single one about her piano. The entire school forum had been completely taken over by Bai Lian. Ren Wongshuan's hand holding the phone was a bit unsteady. She started to understand why the atmosphere had been so tepid during her piano performance. But how could Bai Lian play the guzheng? She didn't return the phone to Chen Zhu. Instead, she stood still and directly opened the video. The canteen of No. 1 Middle School. Bai Lian got her meal and waited for Pu Ziohen to bring Jai Heng back. Jiang Fulai was called away by a phone call halfway there, so Jiang He followed Bai Lian to the No. 1 Middle School canteen. Zhang Shai's arrived before Pu Ziohen. He brought that male student from Class 8 and apologized to Bai Lian. I'm sorry, Bai student. Was it you who took longsword? Bai Lian was memorizing words. Hearing the apology, she looked up slightly, leaning gently against the canteen chair, her emerald green skirt spreading over the stool in full bloom, the peonies blossoming in luxurious and extravagant beauty. The boy from Class 8 was a bit stunned. Don't be nervous, Bai Lian smiled, her lips curling up. She was always breathtakingly beautiful, usually lazy and not aggressive, and now, methodically pressing on her phone, she said, I just want to understand what happened. Nervous about what? Zhang Shais gave him a glance. Our Bai classmate here is such a sweet student, not like Chen Wei, she's straightforward. The boy from Class 8 looked at Bai Lian, at her. I just want to clear things up, otherwise I won't know who to annihilate expression. Is this being sweet? Does Class 15 have some kind of filter when it comes to Bai Lian? Ren Wongshuan agreed to me. The boy hesitated, but chose to tell the truth. I don't know why she didn't contact Chen Zhu. Chen Wei, Ren Wongshuan. Bai Lian withdrew her gaze and silently repeated these two names. Outside the canteen's main entrance, Pu Ziohan brought Jai Heng in. Pu Ziohan was sweet-tongued, and Jai Heng, carrying a big smoking pipe, looked at this gathering of students, likely all Bai Lian's good friends, and his usually stern face softened a lot. Upon seeing Jai Heng, Bai Lian gestured with her hand for Zhang Shi's to take the boy away. Right, she was originally going to perform a sword dance, and then her zither playing turned out to be even more amazing. She also said she didn't have any talents. Pu Ziohan chattered all the way, "Grandfather, how can she play the zither so well?" Jai Heng was dressed in a black robe, neat and clean. Surprised by her words, he sat down and looked at Bai Lian. "You can do sword dancing too. I only heard from your uncle that you learned the zither for a year." "Only learned for a year?" Pu Ziohan was shocked. "Alien, you've only learned the zither for a year." Bai Lian, who had been learning since a child and for over a decade. She remained silent, but she couldn't refute it. "Let's eat." She passed the chopsticks next to her to Jai Heng and Jiang He. It was then that Jai Heng noticed the little boy beside Bai Lian. "Is this your first friend?" At the time, Jai Shaojun had told Jai Heng that Bai Lian had made a friend in Xiangcheng. "Yes, grandfather, his name is Jiang He." Bai Lian picked up her chopsticks and raised an eyebrow at Jiang He. "This is my grandfather. You can just call him Grandpa Jai." Jiang He swallowed his food and then looked up slowly, very quietly. "Hello, Grandpa Jai." "Hello." Jai Heng still had a pretty stern face. He always had this expression, serious and old-fashioned. Today was the school anniversary celebration, with performances in the morning and a half-day off in the afternoon. Bai Lian was always one not to waste time, so she'd go to the library to read and do homework during the holiday. She put Jai Heng on a public bus. "By the way, we're having dinner at your uncle's tonight." Jai Heng remembered this as he was boarding the bus and reminded Bai Lian, "Go straight to your uncle's house this evening." Usually when mentioned, uncle referred to Jai Shaojun. Bai Lian, pressing her phone, her delicate brows and eyes lazy, replied, "Okay." The bus drove off slowly. After seeing Jai Heng off, Bai Lian took Jiang He to the library. Pu Ziohan, who didn't love visiting the library, tugged at Yang Lin, who had just finished a part-time shift, to follow along. The library wasn't crowded on a workday. Bai Lian found a table by the window on the second floor, a spot she and Jiang He often chose, and the group sat down and studied seriously. She hadn't answered many questions when her phone buzzed a few times. "White tank top, sis, I just knocked that guy out from last time. My godfather gave me a mountain." Bai Lian glanced at the message. 1. "White tank top. Sis, my godfather said he wants to give you a mountain too." Bai Lian made time to write 2 biology problems. No need. A gratuitous offer of services is either from a plotter or a thief. "White tank top, why not?" Bai Lian couldn't be bothered to reply. "White tank top, sis, do you have time tonight? I have another matter to discuss with you." With the afternoon free, Bai Lian sent a location and told Mao Kun to find her directly. The library was a bit far from Purist Street. It took Mao Kun more than half an hour to arrive. Bai Lian put down her pen, picked up her phone and stood up. Jiang He stood up as well. "Stay put, I'll just be at the library entrance to meet someone." Bai Lian stretched out a finger and leisurely pressed Jiang He's head back down. "I'll be right back." Jiang He ed and then sat back down properly. Bai Lian looked towards Pu Ziohan again, and before she could speak, Pu Ziohan gave her an okay gesture to reassure her. Outside the door, Mao Kun led two underlings, Xiao and Xiaoqi, as the three of them squatted silently at the doorway. "Brother Mao," Xiao rubbed his head, "this place isn't really for us, though Xiaoqi fits in quite well." Xiaoqi had a tender face and looked to be only around 15 or 16. His hair wasn't long, and he had neither dyed it nor styled it in any odd way. If he hadn't been following behind Mao Kun, he would have looked more like a delicate high school boy. Mao Kun, with a cigarette between his lips, didn't argue. As they were talking, Bai Lian emerged from inside, prompting Mao Kun and his companions to immediately stand up. "Sis," Mao Kun scratched his head while introducing the two beside him to Bai Lian. "This is Xiao and Xiaoqi, whom I picked up on Baxter Street. They both share the surname Mao with me." "Sister Bai," both of them called out in unison. Xiao's voice in particular was loud and clear. Bai Lian leaned lazily against the wall, still dressed in her finely decorated robe, exuding grace and willfulness, her snowy face showing a casual indifference. She folded her arms across her chest. "What's it about?" "The plaster you gave me is extremely effective," Mao Kun said earnestly. "Some people want to buy the recipe. Are you selling it?" "Buy the recipe." Bai Lian narrowed her eyes. Aware that traditional Chinese medicine was declining and Western medicine was prevalent nowadays. But this was a recipe from the imperial palace, capable of treating sprains and strengthening the body's foundation, a miraculous drug for martial artists. Why hadn't it been handed down? "Sis," Mao Kun saw Bai Lian lost in thought and not speaking for a long while. He quietly reminded her. Bai Lian came back to her senses, gazing at Mao Kun for a long moment, her expression tranquil and distant. "All right, but the name of the recipe must be stated. Imperial Revitalizing Plaster." Imperial Revitalizing Plaster. Despite never having heard of it, Mao Kun thought the name sounded cultured. "I'll handle this, rest assured. Although I'm not smart, Xiaoqi is knowledgeable about these matters and will make sure you're not taken advantage of." Xiaoqi seemed not to speak much, just standing quietly behind until Mao Kun called him. Then he would offer a reserved smile. Bai Lian just leaned there looking at Xiaoqi. "How old are you?" 17, Xiaoqi responded. "Not in school." Bai Lian tapped her phone screen with her slender fingertips and furrowed her pretty brows. "At that age, he should be in the first year of high school. 9 years of compulsory schooling. The orphanage only let him finish middle school and didn't allow him to continue. Later, he was tricked into Baxter Street and I picked him up," Mao Kun explained for Xiaoqi as if such things were commonplace. "Also, sis, my godfather wants to meet you. Are you going to Baxter Street?" He looked at Bai Lian, seeking her opinion. Mao Kun was originally just a small-time hoodlum, and it was just good luck that his godfather took him in. His godfather had many capable people under him, and like the poison scorpion, those people called him young Master Mao to his face but didn't really regard him, something Mao Kun was well aware of. Yet in recent days, his godfather had taken a liking to him. Mao Kun knew it was all because of someone, so when his godfather said he wanted to see Bai Lian, Mao Kun didn't accept on her behalf. Bai Lian stood up straight, smoothed out her sleeves gently, but did not reply. Mao Kun immediately understood what Bai Lian meant. She did not want to meet. He always knew what Bai Lian was thinking. Suddenly, a ringtone sounded from the phone. Bai Lian glanced down and saw it was Pu Ziohan calling. Her eyes narrowed slightly, and she answered immediately. From the other end of the phone came a cacophony of noises and intermittent cursing. "Ah, alien, come quickly." Bai Lian's head snapped up, and without a word she strode into the library, her skirt tracing a proud, cold arc behind her. Mao Kun and the others exchanged glances, then followed her in, second floor of the library. At the entrance of the public restroom, chaos reigned. An elegantly dressed elderly woman was gently coaxing a 5- or 6-year-old child who was crying incessantly while looking coldly ahead. "Be good, my treasure." "I won't," the little boy struggled and wailed. "Grandma, he pushed me." The old grandma looked at the swelling on the boy's head with distress and gave a cold glance to the bodyguards beside her. One of them immediately reacted, grabbing Jiang He, who was squatting aside. "Which family are you from? Where are your parents? Are you blind? You pushed our young master to the ground." "Grandma, I want his watch," the little boy said, breaking into laughter when he saw Jiang He being picked up. "His watch glows." Without a reminder from the elderly woman, the bodyguard immediately went to snatch Jiang He's watch. Suddenly lifted up, the silent Jiang He suddenly began to struggle violently. He was making strange noises with his mouth while trying to bite the bodyguard's wrist. The bodyguard didn't expect him to be so strong and got bitten accidentally. "You little beast." He hurriedly squeezed Jiang He's neck to make him let go, then firmly grasped his wrist and handed it to the little boy to please him. "What are you doing?" Pu Ziohen and Yang Lin hurried over after hearing the commotion. Pu Ziohen immediately called Bai Lian. Yang Lin didn't say a word, running over trying to stop the tall and sturdy bodyguard. The old lady sized up Yang Lin and Pu Ziohen. Yang Lin's hair almost covered her entire face, a dead air emanating from her. She was wearing the most ordinary school uniform. The old lady quickly withdrew her gaze, indifferent to the two of them. Seeing her grandson struggling to remove Jiang He's watch, the old lady walked over and forcibly tore it off Jiang He's wrist. As soon as Bai Lian came upstairs, she saw Jiang He being choked and controlled by a man. He kept kicking and punching the man, making strange noises, and it was evident that he was on the edge of a breakdown. Yang Lin and Pu Ziohen tried to snatch Jiang He away, but were easily blocked by the man. An old woman was forcefully taking off Jiang He's watch, and his wrist was already red. Bang! She raised her foot and kicked the man to the ground. Then she reached out and took over Jiang He. Jiang He was trembling all over, his eyes nearly unfocused, just shaking with cold. His neck was swollen, and his wrist was red as well. "Sis," Mao Kun had just come up when Bai Lian handed Jiang He to him. She then turned around and stomped hard on the man's chest. Mao Kun could clearly hear two cracking sounds, the sound of ribs breaking. Bai Lian's gaze slowly shifted to the old lady. She walked over slowly, her eyes narrowed. The smile that slowly formed on her lips was like that of a rakshasa stepping over a sea of corpses. The old lady held her grandson protectively, as Bai Lian's chilly eyes bore into her. She couldn't help but retreat backward. "Ah!" Bai Lian stopped and stared at the black watch in her other hand, her almond-shaped eyes squinting. She directly grabbed the old lady's collar with one hand, choking her neck with the other, and slowly retrieved the watch. You. The old lady was suddenly lifted up, struggling to breathe, and began to speak in terror. "Do you dare? Do you know who my son-in-law is?" Bai Lian's fingers gradually tightened. Pu Ziohen finally snapped out of it. She got up from the ground, held Bai Lian's hand and shook her head. "Alien." Bai Lian looked down at the old lady for a long while, finally releasing her grip before the woman suffocated. The old woman fell to the ground, coughing non-stop while clutching her throat. Bai Lian turned around to check on Jiang He. Jiang He was still shivering. She placed one hand on his pulse and wrapped her other arm around him to take him into her arms, her eyelids drooping slightly, a layer of gloom covering her overly delicate face. Mao Kun coldly looked at the old lady and her entourage, lowering his voice. "Sis, should I?" He made a slight slashing motion across his neck. What are you thinking? Bai Lian noticed that Jiang He was reacting to stress, glanced at Mao Kun, and said lightly, "It's a society governed by the rule of law." Mao Kun, for some reason, he found what his sister said quite amusing. "All right," Mao Kun didn't mind. "Call me if there's trouble. This kind of small matter doesn't require my godfather to take action." Alien. Pu Ziohan didn't hear the conversation between Bai Lian and Mao Kun. She just looked worriedly towards the old lady. That person doesn't seem like an ordinary person. Mao Kun scratched his head, really. He couldn't tell. Meanwhile, the library staff who had pretended not to see Jiang He getting caught, seeing the old lady's side at a disadvantage, started to panic and called security to maintain order. "Madam Li, are you okay?" They helped the elderly woman up. Damn it! The old lady was helped to stand up with her nearly frightened witless grandson beside her. She looked in the direction of Bai Lian, her voice hoarse as she said, "What are you all staring at for? Call the police." The police arrived quickly and took everyone involved in the incident to the police station. Bai Lian with Jiang He cooperated fully throughout the whole process. In the police car, Jiang He's body trembled continuously as he lay across Bai Lian's legs, while Bai Lian slowly patted his back. Parental contact information. The officer was taking notes in a small notebook. Jiang He was still laying across Bai Lian's legs. Bai Lian squinted her eyes. With her pupils still holding an unvanished fierceness, she sat there in her robe, her striking eyebrows and eyes relaxed lazily. She gave Jai Shaojun's number. Jai Heng was getting older, and Bai Lian did not want to trouble him to travel such a long way. The officer nodded, turned his head for someone to make contact, and then asked the next question, "Why did you hit them?" The pale-skinned girl sat on the black car seat. Her whole face shadowed. Those half-closed eyes were extremely cold, and her overly delicate features made her seem like a casual, spectral creature. She knew little about this matter, her tone indifferent. They initiated the physical altercation and also snatched a watch. The watch had already been taken by the officer as evidence. Everything was going smoothly. He was probably the easiest suspect an officer had ever interrogated. He sighed and said, "Regardless, hitting people is not right. You can come to us with the issue. The person you hit might have a somewhat troublesome identity." It was difficult for him to imagine how this seemingly obedient girl managed to beat a bodyguard to that state. But the very next second, a cold sweat broke out over the officer's back as he closed his notebook. He suddenly realized, ever since this girl had gotten into the car, she had almost been leading him by the nose. Even at this moment, he was still making excuses for her. This was a major taboo for a police officer. He suddenly looked at Bai Lian, and a chill surged from the soles of his feet. He had never felt this even when facing those highly intelligent criminals before. Jai Shaojun had just finished tutoring a student preparing for an arts exam. Today, Bai Lian and Jai Heng were supposed to come over for dinner, and he was shopping for groceries with Shen Qing. Having spent so much time together, Jai Shaojun had also learned from Jai Heng which dishes Bai Lian liked to eat. "Strange," Shen Qing commented on the dishes, quite surprised. "I thought she would prefer Baikeng cuisine, but it turns out she still likes Zhangcheng cuisine." She remembered the first time Bai Lian came over for a meal. What she cooked was Baikeng cuisine. No wonder Bai Lian hardly ate anything that time. Alien is also from Zhangcheng. Jai Shaojun did not like Shen Qing saying that. His phone in his pocket rang. Jai Shaojun, while helping Shen Qing pick out vegetables with one hand, answered the phone with the other. "Hello." The person on the other end said something. "What?" Jai Shaojun suddenly looked up, letting go of the vegetable in his hand. Seeing Jai Shaojun's reaction, Shen Qing's heart jolted, reminding her of something that happened a few years ago. "What's wrong?" She quickly put down the vegetables and followed him. To the police station. Jai Shaojun couldn't afford to explain and headed straight for the market's main entrance, hailing a taxi with Shen Qing to the police station. The police station. The old lady and her grandson were well settled in the reception room. Jai Shaojun and Shen Qing arrived just as the police finished taking statements. Alien, seeing that Bai Lian was unharmed, Jai Shaojun let out a huge sigh of relief. What on earth happened? Jiang He was still looking down. Jai Shaojun saw Bai Lian half embracing Jiang He and recognized him as her friend. Since the police had taken Bai Lian's phone, she looked up at Jai Shaojun, touched her nose and admitted her fault. "I beat someone up." "You hit someone." Shen Qing looked at the beautiful Bai Lian with furrowed brows, quickly turned to the police and said, "Officer, you mustn't wrongly accuse people. Look at this child. Does she look like someone who would hit others?" She was loud, and when she spoke, it was a bit like an unreasonable shrew. She had forgotten that when Bai Lian first visited their home, she had said Bai Lian was a wastrel who only knew how to eat, drink, and be merry. The officers were stunned on the spot by her unreasonable tirade. Bai Lian blinked innocently on the side. Thank goodness she wasn't that good at fighting. The other party's ribs were only broken, maybe only 1 or 2 or 3. Shen Qing and Jai Shaojun were taken out by the officers. Bai Lian sat back down in the chair, resting her chin on one hand, while slowly patting Jiang He's back with the other, leisurely saying, "Why haven't you recovered yet? If we wait much longer, Xiaomo is going to blow this place up." Outside. Shen Qing was still talking incessantly with the police officer. Jai Shaojun frowned, feeling that this matter was not simple. The police officer took Jai Shaojun to the resting room to meet the old lady, and looking at Jai Shaojun as if he were calm, he lowered his voice to remind him, "It would be best for both of you to ask for each other's forgiveness." Bai Lian was still a student, and Jiang He was now having a stress reaction, so they separated the two parties. The resting room at the end of the corridor. It was the same old Mrs. Li and her grandson from earlier. As the police officer opened the door to the resting room, Shen Qing felt an unusual atmosphere inside. "Chief," said the police officer who opened the door with great respect, "I've brought the person." The chief did not reply. He was busy keeping up a placating smile. "Mrs. Li, rest assured, I will handle this matter impartially." Old Mrs. Li was holding her grandson. If Bai Lian were here, he would definitely see. The watch that they said was taken for evidence was now being played with by the little boy. Old Mrs. Li's eyes, sharp as hawks, swept over Shen Qing and Jai Shaojun. She set down her teacup with a clack. "Why have you brought them here?" Shen Qing, who was previously overbearing, changed her expression upon hearing the police officer address the person inside as chief. She didn't dare to say another word. Facing ordinary policemen, she could raise her voice, but a chief was not someone ordinary people could meet, usually only seen on TV news. She subconsciously grabbed Jai Shaojun's clothes. "Didn't you hear what Mrs. Li said?" The chief did not look at Jai Shaojun or Shen Qing but glanced at the police officer. "Now, take them away quickly." The police officer hurriedly took the two of them out. "Police comrade officer," Shen Qing's voice was tense. "Auntie," the police officer lifted his eyelid, giving Shen Qing a look and said gravely, "It seems you haven't grasped the situation. Do you know who your niece hit?" Shen Qing was taken aback. "You know about the Chen family, right?" The officer looked at Shen Qing and Jai Shaojun and sighed again. "Why bother? For a watch to cause such a situation, she obviously wants to make it a big deal. You'd better be prepared." In the whole of Xiancheng, who didn't know about the two great families, the Chen family and the Ren family. Jai Shaojun, Shen Qing, holding Jai Shaojun's sleeve, stammered, "Call your brother." In the current situation, common people like them certainly couldn't intervene. It seemed they could only turn to the Ren family now. The police officer was about to leave, but he paused upon hearing Shen Qing's words. He looked at Jai Shaojun and Shen Qing, both dressed simply, in surprise. Were these two also backed by powerful connections? The door to the resting room opened. Old Mrs. Li came out carrying her grandson. Her grandson was holding Jiang He's watch. The screen of the watch lit up with a blue light. It was silently glowing, displaying an incoming call. No one answered. It went off shortly after. Meanwhile, Bai Lian's confiscated phone also began to vibrate. But no one present noticed it. The little boy, holding the watch in one hand and posing with the other as if it were a little pistol, arrogantly shot at Jai Shaojun and Shen Qing. Old Mrs. Li had obviously also heard what Shen Qing had said to Jai Shaojun. She almost sneered. In all of Xiancheng, who didn't know that Chen Gang was her son-in-law, and her grandson Chen Zhu was the future Jiangjing University student. Especially Chen Gang, who had been so influential in Xiancheng over the past month. Even the Ren family had to curry favor with him. Even Ren Kaiyan had to treat her with respect when he saw her. "You want to make a phone call?" Old Mrs. Li set down her grandson, looked at Jai Shaojun and Shen Qing, and touched her neck with one hand, as if she could still feel the choking sensation when Bai Lian had grabbed her neck, her voice hoarse and sinister. "Call whoever you want, but let me tell you this. I will not let go of this matter today, and I definitely won't spare those two, even if you bring over the Ren family or Ren Kaiyan himself. My words stand." The people at the station stood to one side, quite accustomed to the scene. Just because she dared to mention the name, Ren Kaiyan. After the elderly lady finished speaking, the chief of police barely smiled and said to her, "The young master was frightened along with you, ma'am. Please go home and rest. Leave the follow-up to us." The chief didn't have the guts to keep the Chen family at the station. The two had only exchanged pleasantries in the lounge. They hardly questioned them further about the case. Madam Li responded reservedly. As for this matter, the chief respectfully saw her out, "Mr. Chen." "About that?" "Don't worry." Madam Li placed her grandson in the car and stood by it, stroking her own neck, and spoke with a chilly tone. "I understand your predicament. If this matter is handled well, I won't mention it to Chen Gang." The chief breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you for your understanding, madam." He stood at the entrance, watching Madam Li's car drive away. "Chief," a police officer said hesitantly after watching the car leave, "did they take the evidence with them?" Once they entered the library, they had collected the evidence following procedure. Gathering and investigating evidence. After understanding what happened, the evidence was taken by the Li family's kid back to their house. Now they had directly taken the evidence away. The officer, who had not been working long, felt it was inappropriate for the Li family to take others' belongings like that. "It's just a watch." The chief turned and walked back. The watch was the least of his concerns. "What about the information on the other two? Show it to me." Chen Gang was a ruthless figure in Xiancheng, a martial artist from his youth. His exiled family regained attention from Jiangjing thanks to him. Unapproachable and unsympathetic, if this issue wasn't handled well and Chen Gang took notice, his good days would be over. The officer promptly handed over the recently gathered information and the written record. The chief skimmed through it on the way. All information was narrated by Bai Lian, a student at Xiancheng High School, with grandfather Jai Heng and uncle Jai Shaojun. A very ordinary student, from a very ordinary family. He casually closed the notebook with his hand, recalling multiple times but unable to find a family surnamed Jai in Xiancheng. not one of the big shots on Baxter Street, had the surname Jai. Recently, the surname Bai had been added to Baxter Street, but that had nothing to do with Jai. Madame Li was shrewd. She wouldn't dare to provoke someone truly influential. The chief and the officer walked on. Shen Qing and Jai Shaojun, who were waiting in the lobby, hurried over to speak with the chief. "I'm sorry," an officer blocked them sternly. "Our chief has other matters to attend to." The chief wasn't someone ordinary people could see whenever they wished. If it had not been for this matter concerning Madame Li, such a trivial issue wouldn't have required his attention. Watching the chief's retreating figure, Shen Qing wondered, what can we do now? She had clearly heard what Madame Li said. Even seeking Ren Kaiyan would be useless. In Shen Qing's knowledge, Ren Kaiyan was the most powerful person she could think of. "Let's first ask Alien exactly what happened. Don't tell Dad to avoid worrying him," Jai Shaojun said calmly. Instead of panicking like Shen Qing, he spoke with a composed voice. As for going to the Ren family, Jai Shaojun didn't consider it for a moment. He held his phone, deep in thought. Shen Qing had begun like a headstrong brat, but compared to Madame Li, she was far outmatched. The officer, witnessing Madame Li take the watch without a word from the chief, shared empathy for the weaker, and after saying that the chief couldn't be approached, he added in a hushed tone, "Try to leverage your connections if you can. You shouldn't let the student end up with a criminal record. A criminal record would complicate future civil service examinations." "Stay with Alien," Jai Shaojun instructed Shen Qing firmly. "I need to step out." Thinking he was going to seek help from the Ren family, she quickly agreed. "Okay, you go. Don't worry about her here." Meanwhile, Pu Ziohan and Yang Lin returned to school, seeking Lu Lingxi. Most students, when faced with trouble, seek out their homeroom teacher, especially those in class 15. Hearing Pu Ziohan's clear explanation, Lu Lingxi was alarmed. Bai Lian was pushed to hit someone. Her such a well-behaved, outstanding student forced to resort to violence. Yes, Pu Ziohan felt like crying. Ms. Lu, that old lady was unreasonable, snatching things and hitting people, and she seems tough to deal with. Bai won't get into trouble, right? "You two go back first," Lu Lingxi gestured with her hand. "I'll handle this matter." She stepped out of the office and took out her phone to make a call. Pu Ziohan spoke anxiously about Bai Lian's situation, and the other teachers in the office heard about it too, the news spreading quietly throughout the school. Even Ren Wongshuan, who had already gone home, had heard something about it. Ren Kaiyan made a call to ask Ren Wongshuan about the incident with Chief Chen. "I don't know," Ren Wongshuan said, looking out the window. "Chen Grandpa left after watching the performance and didn't join us for lunch." The school leaders had also not stayed. "How did your calligraphy go today?" Ren Kaiyan knew that the school intended to have Ren Wongshuan showcase her handwriting in front of Grandpa Chen. "The best piece I've written recently." Ren Wongshuan pursed her lips, her beautiful features slightly furrowed. She was somewhat distracted. Ren Kaiyan naturally had no doubts about Ren Wongshuan's abilities, but now, sensing something unusual in her tone, he put aside what he was doing. "What happened?" "It's just..." Ren Wongshuan hesitated, biting her lip. She didn't tell Ren Kaiyan about Bai Lian's Guzheng performance at school, merely asking, "Did someone from the Jai family come looking for you?" "The Jai family?" Ren Kaiyan was surprised. "You mean your dad? He hasn't looked for me." "I see." Ren Wongshuan was a bit taken aback. She had heard that Lu Lingxi's face had turned grim at the time, and she thought someone from the Jai family would go to her grandfather. What exactly happened? Ren Kaiyan had been very concerned about the Jai family of late, and he asked seriously, "What's happened with the Jai family?" "It seems to be Bai Lian." Ren Wongshuan withdrew her gaze from the window, lying on her bed. "She caused trouble and got taken to the police station, and it's not a small matter. This was something Ren Kaiyan truly didn't know. After hanging up the phone, he promptly instructed the Secretary General to look into Bai Lian. Even though the Jai family hasn't approached me, we cannot pretend to be ignorant of this affair. Ren Kaiyan had his own plans, intending to take the initiative to help before the Jai family reached out to him. The matter that Ren Kaiyan wanted to investigate yielded results in just a few minutes. The Secretary General looked at Ren Kaiyan and hesitated to speak. "Is it serious?" Ren Kaiyan asked, looking at the Secretary General actually surprised. He didn't think there was anything in Ziang Cheng that could cause him trouble, especially considering it involved the Jai family. How big could it possibly get? To Ren Kaiyan, it was just a matter of a few words. The Secretary General bowed and reported to Ren Kaiyan. "It's not that serious, but Miss Bai, she injured Madame Li, and Madame Li is very angry now." "What?" Ren Kaiyan was astonished. Whom had Bai Lian offended, to have clashed with Chen Gang's mother-in-law? "Sir," the Secretary General stood to one side, expressing his concern. "It seems that Grandpa Chen had the intention of acknowledging Chen Zhu as his foreign-born grandson, and this." Ren Kaiyan was silent for a good long while. He knew the importance of the Chen family, and Bai Lian was worth the investment, but Grandpa Chen. Even if given several more decades, he wouldn't find a chance to connect with the Chen family of Jiangjing. Eventually, he waved his hand. Ren Kaiyan slowly said, "Let's not deal with this matter for now. If the Jai family calls, you help me find an excuse to delay them." "Understood." The Secretary General lowered his head. Ziang Cheng, CRFS Dark Matter Research Institute. Jiang Fulai took off his glasses, his black coat open, his cool gaze fixed on the data, the fluorescent marker being slowly tapped between his fingers. No interaction between dark matter particles and other particles detected. Expand the variety of particles. "Got it." He Wen noted down the important points. Standing behind Jiang Fulai, he observed him covertly, estimating the mood of young Master Jiang. Eventually, the quest for knowledge overcame the fear of young Master Jiang, and he Wen, holding his notebook, spoke cautiously. "Young Master Jiang, have you done the new questions from the app recently?" Jiangjing University's app training camp has a basic question bank and a challenge question bank, with 20 new questions released each month. They cover mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology, with 20 basic questions every month. Getting all the questions right grants 10,000 base points. The scores are determined by the system. The Challenge Question Bank is composed of questions set by a group of tutors from Jiangjing University, randomly refreshed. Solving one question multiplies the monthly score by 1. The number of questions solved is equivalent to how many times the score is multiplied. The question bank is refreshed each month. The basic question bank is generally manageable, but for the challenge question bank, no one aside from young Master Jiang has completed it. The system's best answer is still young Master Jiang's. However, Jiang Fulai hasn't logged into the system for 2 years. He hadn't realized how he Wen and the others had spent these 2 years. Unable to finish the challenge questions, they dared not ask. A few days ago, someone downloaded the app and even followed someone. The people from several laboratories were almost brought to tears. But, after waiting 2 weeks, Jiang Fulai neither brushed the questions nor left any answers. "What kind of questions?" Jiang Fulai picked up his phone and looked at the time. It was just past 4. He Wen quickly perked up. "There's a question about photons." He spoke succinctly. But after he finished, he Wen had a vaguely bad feeling. Sure enough, the next second, Jiang Fulai looked at Jiang He's lack of response, clenched his phone, and with calm and indifferent, emotionless 3 words, "High school question." "I'll look into it further." He Wen hastily attempted to remedy the situation. Jiang Fulai looked at He Wen, his lips slightly pursed in coolness, wanting to say something but ultimately held back. He turned and left the room, sometimes really doubting what kind of people he was spending his time with in the same laboratory. Once young Master Jiang left the office, the others looked at He Wen with an expression that said, "You've got guts. He Wen, can you tell me how you dared to ask him high school questions? He Wen, can you do it?" That person shrugged, but we wouldn't be bold enough to ask him to do it. Joking, there were standard answers in the question bank, though none as clear and enlightening as young Master Jiang's answers, but they were sufficient. Who would dare to have young Master Jiang do their problems? After all, even academician Ma hadn't been able to trick young Master Jiang into his laboratory. Outside in the office, Jiang Fulai called Jiang He again, but no one answered. It wasn't surprising. Jiang He had been giving him the cold shoulder for several days now. Pale fingers tapping on the phone screen, he dialed Bai Lian's number, telling her that Ming Dingheng would be late picking up Jiang He tonight. Still no answer. Jiang Fulai hesitated in his steps, knowing that Bai Lian was at the library with Jiang He. Computer. Jiang Fulai paused in his stride, made a timeout gesture to the researchers in the office, and set down his fluorescent pen. The assistant quickly handed over his computer. The underground laboratory, to avoid cosmic ray interference, was built deep into the earth, perennially cold and shadowy. Jiang Fulai set the computer on the table, not bothering to sit, one hand bracing the tabletop, the other tapping on the keyboard. The computer's glow made his face seem even more pale and sharp, and a black skull icon soon appeared on the desktop. Line after line of code emerged at his fingertips. The assistant stood 3 steps away, watching expressionlessly. Jiang's business scope was too broad for him to understand anything. Pale fingertips struck the Enter key with a snap, and a large map of Xiangcheng popped up on the computer screen with a small red dot moving slowly. The assistant behind only saw Jiang keying in several lines of code, with the map continuously zooming in. It finally stopped on a street. He was tracking the location of Jiang He's wristwatch. Jiang He often disappeared without reason due to his personality. In all of the Jiang family, even Ziju couldn't outplay the young Jiang He. Jiang Fulai had taken special time to make a wristwatch for him with a tracking feature. Under normal circumstances, Bai Lian and Jiang He should be in the library reading. But now they appeared in an unknown location, still slowly moving. Jiang Fulai pulled up the previous movements of the watch to confirm that the last appearance was at the police station. He stared at the route, closed the laptop lid with a cold snap, postponed the meeting to tomorrow, give half a day off. He straightened up slowly, picked up his phone and left carrying an air of frost. The entire office fell silent all at once. Someone looked towards the assistant. What happened to young Master Jiang? The assistant pushed up his glasses, making a profound guess. Probably someone who's looking for trouble messed with the young master. The son of academician Jiang Sui. He walked in just in time to hear the assistant's words and was quite astonished. After Jiang Sui's parents passed away, Jiang He was mistreated by a group of relatives who danced with demons. Jiang Fulai took Jiang He from Jiang Sui's home and severely dealt with that bunch of relatives. It was a well-known event throughout Jiangjing. They would rather provoke Jiang Ziju, who didn't blink an eye when killing someone. Who would be so bold as to provoke Jiang Fulai? Jiang Fulai took the elevator up, looking down at his phone as he dialed Ming Dingheng. Ming Dingheng was with Chief Chen. When he received Jiang Fulai's call, Chief Chen was exchanging pleasantries with someone. Is this drug really not for sale on a large scale? He had heard that there was a miraculous plaster on Bacter Street, which had a significant appeal to the Chen family and various special forces. no less than Wang Yufeng's minerals. The other person smiled. Sorry, there's no news from Dr. Bai at the moment. Chief Chen looked at the person and cursed inwardly, thinking they were tough nuts to crack and playing the old game of holding their goods dear. He'd better not find that Dr. Bai, or he would kidnap him, no matter the cost. Ming Dingheng glanced at them and then stepped outside to answer the call, his tone respectful yet puzzled. Young master. Where are you? Jiang Fulai didn't wait for the driver. He picked up the car keys with his eyes downcast, his voice indifferent. But Ming Dingheng on the other end of the phone heard it with a shock. Baxter Street. Meet me at the police station. Jiang Fulai opened the car door, holding the phone in one hand and starting the car with the other, as the evening sun slanted through the windows, casting his fierce face in the hazy sunlight. Jiang He's watch was last positioned there. What? Ming Dingheng's heart skipped a beat. His hands became somewhat unsteady. What's the matter? Chief Chen, who was speaking to someone, noticed Ming Dingheng hastily standing up, lowering his voice. It's about Jiang He. Ming Dingheng couldn't delay. You keep an eye on this place. I have to take a trip to the police station. Seeing Ming Dingheng's complexion, Chief Chen didn't dare to ask further. Baxter Street wasn't close to Xiangcheng police station. Ming Dingheng drove Chief Chen's car almost speeding all the way, blatantly over the speed limit in some sections. Passing policemen, recognizing the license plate number, dared not stop him. Xiangcheng police station headquarters. Ming Dingheng parked the car. His car was eye-catching, and as soon as it appeared, someone saw it and quickly reported it upstairs. In the police station office, the chief heard the report and immediately stood up, shocked. Chief Chen's car. Why has he come here? Chief Chen's car was provided by Xiangcheng, and he was always low-key. But anyone in Xiangcheng with some connections knew what car Chief Chen drove. The chief quickly put on his coat and went to the police station entrance. But it wasn't Chief Chen at the entrance. Instead, there stood a tall, cold man holding car keys, standing next to Chief Chen's car. Seeing the chief come out, he merely gave them a cold glance without saying a word. Whoever followed Jiang Fulai couldn't be just anyone. The chief did not recognize Ming Dingheng, but anyone who could casually drive Chief Chen's car was clearly not ordinary. He was intimidated by Ming Dingheng's cold expression, standing at the entrance not sure how to start a conversation with him. Just when the chief hadn't quite figured out what to say, a royal blue sports car with Jiangjing license plates approached from the end of the road. Screech a sound. It stopped at the entrance of the police station. Under the setting sun, the car's body radiated a fierce chill. Ming Dingheng recognized this as the car specially brought to Xiangcheng for Jiang Fulai's daily use. He strode to the driver's side, and as the car came to a steady stop, he opened the door to let Jiang Fulai out. The chief glanced and saw a man in a black overcoat getting out of the driver's seat. Just a stately silhouette, simplistic in black. Reflecting dark gleams in the setting sun, the entrance of the police station fell silent for a moment. Jiang Fulai didn't look at anyone. He merely tilted his head slightly to gaze at the sign above the entrance. Then he strode towards the police station. His trench coat swept behind him in a haughty swirl. Young master, Ming Dingheng hurriedly followed him. The chief and others at the entrance were completely ignored, exchanging bewildered looks. This was probably the first person who dared to dismiss the chief so blatantly. Chief. Someone voiced out in silence. Did those two not recognize the chief, or were they simply too indifferent to pay any attention? While still uncertain, they vaguely felt it was the latter. The chief suddenly felt uneasy. Without uttering a word, he followed them directly. Outside the police station, Xiao scratched his head, looking at Mao Kun in the back seat. Brother Mao, are we going inside? Mao Kun pulled open the car door. Of course, my sister is still in there. These people really don't know how formidable Mao the Younger, am without being shown some color. Zioki, with his hand on the steering wheel, sighed while rubbing his forehead. Brother Mao Xiao, don't rush in yet. Zioki, have you forgotten how you got to where you are today? If it weren't for our sister, the three of us would still be stuck on Purist Street as gang leaders, Mao Kun bellowed. It wasn't until his sister single-handedly took down Poison Scorpion that he caught the eye of his godfather and was able to shine on Baxter Street. And if he was a step later and his sister had already wiped out those people, where would his face be? Zioki, hold back, his elder brother is an idiot. Let's wait, Zioki inhaled deeply, trying to calm Mao Kun. The two people who just went in aren't simple. Zioki talked him around, eventually stopping Mao Kun. Mao Kun squatted across from the police station, lit a cigarette with a scowl. Fine, I'll wait another half hour. Zio also squatted down beside him. Zioki turned his head away, not wanting to witness their foolishness. As soon as Jiang Fulai entered the lobby, the bustling crowd fell silent. He scanned the room. Ming Dingheng immediately grabbed a police officer by the collar, asking, "Is there a brother-sister pair here?" The officer was startled by Ming Dingheng's stern gaze. "Yes, there are." "Take us to them," Ming Dingheng let go. There weren't many cases today, mostly old ones. Speaking of a brother and sister, it had to be Bai Lian and Jiang He, who were still in the interrogation room. The officer hurried to take them to Bai Lian and Jiang He. Shen Qing was with Bai Lian, her hands clutching her skirt, sitting on one side uncomfortably, anxious and restless, and frequently checking her phone. Bai Lian had to comfort the constantly trembling Jiang He, while also trying to reassure Shen Qing. When Jiang Fulai entered, he saw this scene. The girl's hand slowly stroked Jiang He's back, her other hand supporting her chin, her cold black eyes half-closed looking at the tree shadows outside the window, like a white cat whose peaceful sleep had been disturbed, clearly not in a good mood. Lingering on the edge of an outburst, Shen Qing, startled by the sudden entrance of the two, quickly stood up. The pressure from Jiang Fulai wasn't any less than that from the chief. Ming Dingheng, seeing that the two were unharmed, let out a sigh of relief. "Miss Bai, just hand the little master over to me." Jiang He's hands were tightly clenching Bai Lian's skirt and wouldn't let go. Bai Lian replied methodically, "His mood isn't good right now." Ming Dingheng could only stand aside. Jiang Fulai stood 2 steps away from Bai Lian, glanced at her, then lowered his gaze to the still clinging Jiang He, and for once refrained from making a sarcastic remark. He simply asked, "Did you win?" He didn't even ask if she had been fighting. Even Shen Qing didn't think she seemed like someone who would fight. Bai Lian. M.H.M. Bai Lian's gaze drifted out the window. "Then that's fine." Jiang Fulai nodded, sweeping a look around the interrogation room environment. As soon as Bai Lian entered the room, she knew that the old lady had connections. She had expected Mao Kun to arrive before her patience ran out, but to her surprise, Jiang Fulai came first. "How come you're here?" Jiang Fulai was in a bad mood, but tried to speak gently. "No one answered your 2 phones, where are they?" "They were confiscated." Bai Lian crossed her legs nonchalantly, not seeming too concerned. Jiang Fulai's cold glance swept to the side. Ming Dingheng immediately grabbed someone from behind. "The phones." The person, frightened, didn't dare to ask anything and hastily retrieved Bai Lian's phone. Bai Lian took her phone, only to see many missed calls, 2 from Jiang Fulai, 5 from Jai Shaojun, and over a dozen from Mao Kun. She opened WeChat. "White vest, sis." "White vest, haven't you come out yet?" "White vest, I've arrived, don't do anything rash, sis." Bai Lian 1. Then she turned to look at Shen Qing. "Where's uncle?" Shen Qing was startled by the sudden arrival of Jiang Fulai and another person. She didn't dare to look at Jiang Fulai and answered in a low voice. "He's gone out to find someone." Bai Lian lowered her head again to send a message to Jai Shaojun. "Uncle, it's all good now." "Ah, this is my aunt." She looked up and introduced Shen Qing to Jiang Fulai. This was her first time calling someone aunt, and despite still being nervous in the police station, Shen Qing instinctively puffed up her chest. Yes, she is my niece." At this moment, she finally understood Jai Shaojun a bit more. Ren Wongshuan had never once called her aunt. Jiang Fulai looked at Shen Qing and paused. The aloof young master Jiang finally softened a bit and greeted her in a very polite manner. "Hello." Ah, Shen Qing didn't know where to put her hands. "Oh, and little Wenmeng's watch," Bai Lian frowned. "Why didn't you bring it along with you?" Having investigated the watch's trail, Jiang Fulai naturally knew where it was. Without asking, he could guess what had happened between the two. "Someone will bring it back," Jiang Fulai said lightly, glancing at the door. Then his tone softened when he looked at Bai Lian again. "Let's go out first." Ming Dongheng reached out, wanting to take Jiang He from Bai Lian's hands. Jiang He weighed at least 50 kilograms, which was not light for a frail girl. He had just stretched out his hand when he saw Bai Lian easily lift Jiang He up. "Ming Dongheng." He remembered. "Miss Bai, do you still have a piece of iridium in your hand?" Jiang Fulai coldly watched Jiang He, who was burying his face, and he held back. The station chief was still waiting at the interrogation room door, and when he saw Jiang Fulai leaving with people, he hurried over, stiffly addressing Shen Qing with a much nicer tone than before. "Please wait a moment, the procedure isn't finished yet, you can't leave for now." He didn't dare to speak to Jiang Fulai, so he had to approach Shen Qing, who seemed the easiest to talk to among the group. Jiang Fulai stopped, interrupting the chief with 3 chilly words. "Who are you?" "I'm the chief of this substation." The chief lowered his head. "The chief?" Jiang Fulai withdrew his gaze, not looking at him again. He continued forward. "Let Chen Yangkun come and talk to me," he said, turning his head to Ming Dongheng. "If it's not handled well, just have him roll back to Jiangjing." The young master Jiang rarely called out people's full names. This was not an instruction, but a notification. Ming Dongheng's heart tightened, and he nodded seriously. Jiang Fulai didn't stop for a moment. Without making a statement or bailing anyone out, he just left with Bai Lian and Jiang He. Nobody behind them dared to stop them. After Jiang Fulai and Bai Lian left, the remaining people at the police station looked at each other in dismay. In Xiangcheng, they heard most about Ren Kaiyan and Chen Gang. Who was Chen Yangkun? Was he also from the Chen family? The officer from before looked at the chief and swallowed. "Chief, are we just letting them leave like this? How do we explain to the Li family?" "What is there to explain?" The chief suddenly broke out into a fine sweat on his forehead. "Hurry up and notify the Li family to send over the watch." His fingers trembled. The upper circles in Xiangcheng knew about a big shot from Jiangjing who had been sent down to manage things here. They all referred to this person as Chen Yi, or Chen Bureau. The ordinary officers naturally didn't know Chen Yi's real name. But the chief, who had seen the files, was very clear about Chen Yi's true name. Chen Yangkun. The rest of the officers were startled by his reaction, and they quickly went to contact the Li family. The Li family. The elderly lady had already gone home to change into a new set of clothes. At this moment, the family doctor was carefully applying ointment to her neck, and in just 2 hours, the old lady's neck had turned purple and blue. The servant half knelt on the ground, holding a mirror for her. Lady Li's eyes were full of gloom. Ever since her daughter married Chen Gang, most people didn't dare to speak to her too loudly or too softly. How dare that girl do it? Smack! She slapped the mirror away. The servant hurriedly knelt down, trembling as they bowed their head. "Grandma," the little boy ran down from upstairs, holding up a black watch for Lady Li to see. "It requires a password. Give me the password quickly." "Dear grandson," Lady Li immediately hugged the boy, rubbing the swelling on his head. "I'll have someone fetch it for you right away." Just as she was saying this, her cell phone rang. It was from the police station. "I was just about to contact you." Lady Li sat upright and spoke indifferently. "Ask that little bastard what the password of the watch is." On the other end of the phone, the officer wiped off the cold sweat. "Lady Li, the chief has asked me to notify you to return the watch immediately." "What do you mean?" The old lady was very displeased. "What do I mean?" The chief snatched the phone away. "Lady Li, you may want to die, but I still want to live. You better find Chen Gang. If he has any clout in front of Chen Yi, your Li family might still find a way to survive today." Director made this statement to old Lady Li based on their past relationship. It was clear he wasn't joking. He even called out Chen Gang by his full name. Old Lady Li put down her grandson and suddenly stood up, her voice still a bit hoarse. "Are you serious?" She wasn't oblivious. Judging from the few girls this afternoon from head to toe, there wasn't much she deemed worthy of attention. The director didn't explain further. He simply hung up the phone as he was already overwhelmed with his own problems. "Grandma, the password." Old Lady Li also felt a bit panicked. She didn't tend to her grandson any longer, but instead called Chen Gang. Backdoor Street. When Chen from the bureau received Ming Dingheng's call, he halted what he was doing and burst into fury. "Isn't this? Zhang Cheng is just a bunch of no-goods. Not to mention whose turf they're digging into. Now they've even escalated to protecting each other like this. The emperor is far away, and in the absence of the tiger, the monkey becomes the king," his subordinate said helplessly. This wasn't an isolated incident. He used two classic examples to explain. Even if Jiang Fulai's identity is confidential, the watch on the young master's wrist was personally made by him, and it bears the Jiang family's emblem. Can't they see that? Chen from the bureau slammed the car door hard, his eyes fiercely glaring. That watch, only Jiang Fulai could make something like that in the entire Jiangjing. They really have good taste, don't they? Chen from the bureau's rage wasn't just because they offended Jiang Fulai. It was also because he was furious at the corruption from top to bottom. He was demoted here, and everything had been peaceful. Even Backdoor Street hadn't had any major incidents. Chen from the bureau thought his main task was to handle Backdoor Street, then help with Chen family and Jiang family's connections, and just relax until he could go back and be promoted. Who knew all the peace was just a facade? It was all a show put on for him by Zhang Cheng. It was even possible that even before they had arrived, Zhang Cheng had already started putting on these facades. If it weren't for what happened today, he wouldn't have known that Zhang Cheng was only seemingly peaceful on the surface, but was actually riddled with problems to the core. "There's nothing that can be done." The driver looked in the rearview mirror as he tried to pacify Chen from the bureau. "You know, both Jiang Fulai and the young master's identities are highly confidential. Not to mention Zhang Cheng. There aren't many in Jiangjing who could be granted an audience with Jiang Fulai. Expecting these people from Zhang Cheng to recognize it right away is truly asking too much of them." But one thing the bureau chief said was correct. The watch Jiang He wore was indeed rare. There was only one like that in the entire Jiangjing. That's why there's the saying, possess a treasure, become a target. They indeed knew how to pick, landing right on Jiang He's head. The subordinate wiped sweat from his brow as he looked in the rearview mirror at Chen from the bureau's dark expression. Just how they were going to endure Chen from the bureau's wrath, he didn't know. "Is it okay for us to just leave like this?" Shen Qing asked as they walked out of the police station's main door. It still felt surreal to her. She subconsciously looked back at the solemn and imposing doorway. Only a sliver of the setting sun was left overhead, its color a deep red, almost not blinding, but Shen Qing still felt dazed. We just walked out like that. It's fine. Ming Dingheng saw Jiang Fulai treated Shen Qing with respect, so he lowered his posture and with a cold gaze glanced back before saying, "You can leave with peace of mind. They wouldn't dare to trouble you again." "That's good," Shen Qing let out a sigh of relief. As soon as Bai Lian walked out, she saw two people squatting across the street, with Zyaoki standing expressionless beside them, looking up at the sky. She paused for a moment, then turned to look at Jiang Fulai and handed Jiang He over to him. "I will wait for my uncle. You take Jiang He back first." The sunset outlined her figure sharply, her plain clothes seeming even more assertive than the twilight sky. Jiang Fulai looked at her, then reached out and took Jiang He from her. As a researcher, Jiang Fulai's hands could definitely be considered a work of art, distinctively articulated yet wrapped in a faintly cold jade-like chill. Yet Bai Lian's fingers wrapped around Jiang He's arm were even more slender, in smooth, cold white. Hard to imagine those were the hands that could play out the sounds of charging armies. When he took Jiang he unavoidably touched that cold white. He let go upon contact, not as cool as the palm of his hands. Jiang He clung tightly to Bai Lian's sleeve and wouldn't let go. Jiang Fulai lightly glanced at his tightly closed eyes. "Zio Niao," Bai Lian gently tugged at her own sleeve, then whispered a comfort, "Sister has something to take care of right now. Let go, and I'll come to see you first thing in the morning." Jiang He's long eyelashes quivered, and his fingers loosened. Only then did Jiang Fulai, with a cold demeanor, hold him. "Doesn't Ming Dingheng need to send you back?" "No need." Bai Lian lazily smoothed out her sleeves and skirt hem. Once Ming Dingheng drove off, the three people on the opposite side sheepishly walked over. "Sis." Bai Lian stood against the sunset and casually introduced, "This is my aunt." Mao Kun and the others spoke up loudly, "Auntie, hello, I'm Xiaomo." Shen Qing was startled. Mao Kun's bleached hair always made him seem a bit untrustworthy, but compared to Ming Dingheng, Mao Kun couldn't be more normal. Shen Qing relaxed a lot. "Xiaomo, are you also friends with Alien?" "Yeah," Mao Kun scratched his head somewhat guiltily. "Not far away." Jai Shaojun, who was on the phone, walked towards them. On the other end was a woman's voice. "She's back in Xiangcheng." "Jai Mulan, what kind of tone is that?" Jai Shaojun frowned and scolded. "I left her with the Bai family because they have a big family business. With her antics, who else could protect her but the Bai family? And what does she do? Just to gratify a whim, she pats her butt and heads back to Xiangcheng, causing trouble for me everywhere." Jai Shaojun stopped walking. "This has nothing to do with her." "Do you think you know better than I do?" Jai Mulan interrupted him, listing the many issues Bai Lian had caused throughout her life. "You reaching out to me is less effective than a single word from Bai Kaiming." "You have a new family?" Jai Shaojun suddenly asked. Jai Mulan went silent. "Found your so-called true love again?" Jai Shaojun, noticing Bai Lian standing not far ahead, looking obedient and charming, sneered. "Once this matter is settled, we won't need to mention Bai Kaiming. You disappeared for over 2 years without a word. You should at least come back to see your daughter and your father when you have the time." "Jai Mulan, you're no longer the capricious teenager you once were. Dad is getting old. Don't do something you'll regret." He finished speaking and hung up without waiting for her reply. His expression soured. He had only one sister, and most of the time he was stuck between Jai Mulan and Jai Heng. But this time Jai Mulan had left Bai Lian alone with the Bai family, which disappointed Jai Shaojun deeply. Jai Shaojun had always had Jai Mulan's phone number. He just never contacted her before, and today, for Bai Lian's sake, he reached out for the first time. He pocketed his phone and approached Bai Lian and Shen Qing, softening his expression considerably. When he saw Mao Kun and the other two with Bai Lian, he paused, his gaze lingering on Zai Oki's face for a moment. "Uncle Jai, hello," the three said with great politeness. Jai Shaojun responded with a regaining his composure, emanating authority. He was much like Jai Heng in that he didn't talk much. Shen Qing, on the other hand, was quite chatty, insisting on having Mao Kun and the others over for dinner. "We shouldn't, Auntie," Mao Kun scratched his head. "My godfather is looking for me." Shen Qing watched the trio leave with a touch of regret. She had a good impression of the three, especially Zai Oki. "Let's go shopping for groceries. Dad will arrive soon," Jai Shaojun said, withdrawing his gaze and patting Bai Lian's shoulder. "Let's not talk about this with your grandfather to avoid worrying him." As for what actually happened at the police station, Jai Shaojun hadn't asked Bai Lian, staying silent, thinking about the matter with Jai Mulin. Today was Bai Lian's second time visiting Jai Shaojun's home, but her mindset was completely different from the last. Shen Qing and Jai Shaojun were cooking in the kitchen. On the coffee table in Jai Shaojun's living room were many trophies and photos. Bai Lian's gaze fell on the photo in the center, featuring Jai Shaojun in his middle age with a girl in the picture. The girl wore a black t-shirt, holding a trophy, looking very petite and smiling brightly with pure joy. She always felt that person looked familiar. "Those are his students," Jai Heng, following her gaze, noticed the picture, took a deep drag on his cigarette, his voice muffled. "Each of them got into Baikang University of Arts except for Yang Qiang." Baikang University of Arts was the best art school among the 4 major cities. You could say that in his years of teaching, Jai Shaojun's students were everywhere. Jai Heng's gaze turned distant, and he didn't continue. "Yang Qiang." Bai Lian lounged on the couch with a carefree posture, her eyes narrowing slightly. She had never heard the name before. "Dinner's ready, what are you two doing there?" Shen Qing came out with a dish, interrupting Bai Lian and Jai Heng's conversation. "Come prepared to eat." "Oh," Bai Lian withdrew her gaze. She went to wash her hands in the kitchen, helping with the serving. "Don't bother," Shen Qing chased her out. "Let your uncle do it, he's thick-skinned, he'll be fine." Jai Shaojun, who just picked up his soup, really wanted to put it back. The doorbell rang, and Shen Qing paused in her movements, still feeling restrained around the Ren family. "Alien, go open the door. It should be your little uncle who has arrived." Bai Lian went to open the door. Only Jai Xiaorong had come. This was normal. At a Jai family dinner, how could anyone from the Ren family possibly attend? Ren Wongshuan had only been to Jai Heng's place a few times, countable on one hand. "Shall we not mention the matter about Alien to your brother?" Shen Qing caught Jai Shaojun in the kitchen, glancing at the living room and lowering her voice. Jai Shaojun shook his head, his voice very indifferent. "If Alien said it's nothing, then there's no need to bother for now. What kind of relationship do we have with the Ren family that we could possibly climb up to?" Seeing Jai Shaojun act this way, Shen Qing knew he cared a lot about the Ren family. "I'm looking out for you," she snorted coldly. She had once thought about pleasing the Ren family in every possible way, but lately it seemed she had moved on. The Ren family. At dinner time, there were only 3 people: Ren Wongshuan, Ren Kaiyan, and Ren Jiawei. Today was Ren Wongshuan's school anniversary, and not a single person from the family had attended. If it were any other time, she would have been angry about it. Therefore, Ren Jiawei and Ren Kaiyan had both brought her gifts and had made a special effort to have dinner with Ren Wongshuan. But today, Ren Wongshuan was surprisingly well-behaved and did not get angry. "Did Teacher Chu and your senior brother come back?" Ren Kaiyan suddenly remembered this and asked Ren Wongshuan. Teacher Chu was Ren Wongshuan's calligraphy teacher. Highly accomplished in the Liang style, she had significant influence in the calligraphy world. Although she was from Xiangcheng, she had moved to Baikeng a long time ago and rarely returned. It had cost Ren Kaiyan and Ren Jiawei a great deal to hire her as a teacher for Ren Wongshuan. Ren Wongshuan nodded. Yeah, they should arrive in Xiangcheng tonight. Ask Teacher Chu when she's free for me to visit. Ren Kaiyan spoke seriously. I'll let Mr. Chen know when it's time. The entire Ren family did not dare to neglect this matter. As the two of them were talking, Ren Kaiyan hadn't seen Jai Xiaorong yet and turned to Ren Jiawei. Where's Xiaorong? Ren Jiawei reached for a tissue, leisurely wiping her hands. He's gone to the Jai family for dinner. No need to wait for him today. Gone to the Jai family for dinner. Ren Kaiyan had no objections to Jai Xiaorong dining at the Jai family's home. He wasn't too concerned with the Jai family members. What surprised him was the timing of it today. Quite inconveniently, right after the incident with Bai Lian, Jai Xiaorong was having dinner at the Jai family, which made Ren Kaiyan inevitably overthink. Across the table, Ren Wongshuan also looked up at Ren Kaiyan. After dinner, Ren Kaiyan, holding his teacup, planned to discuss the matter about Teacher Chu and Mr. Chen with Ren Jiawei. Suddenly, a servant's voice came from outside. The master has returned. It was Jai Xiaorong. Ren Kaiyan paused in his step, glanced outside, then suddenly set down his teacup and headed upstairs. Jiawei, I'm a bit tired. If Xiaorong needs anything, let him come find me tomorrow. Having said that, he vanished at the staircase. Ren Jiawei looked puzzledly at Ren Kaiyan's retreating figure. What's wrong? Jai Xiaorong came back only to see Ren Jiawei deep in thought. No, it's nothing. Ren Jiawei touched her chin, contemplating, then suddenly sat up straight. Did something happen at the Jai family? Or did you recently upset my dad? The Jai family. Jai Xiaorong paused, then patted the back of Ren Jiawei's hand. It's nothing, I've just come from my brother's place. We're planning to buy Alien a Guzheng. Oh right, do you know any Guzheng teachers? When Ren Jiawei heard this, she relaxed. Jai Xiaorong, seeing that her focus had shifted, glanced upstairs and then frowned as he sent a message to Jai Xiaojun. The following day, Ren Kaiyan got up much later than usual. Jai Xiaorong had spent the night at the old house with Ren Jiawei. It was only when a servant informed Ren Kaiyan that Chen Gang had come to visit out of the blue that he went downstairs. Just as he reached the bottom of the stairs, he saw Chen Gang waiting in the lobby. Reminded of the incident with Bai Lian, Ren Kaiyan took the initiative to speak. Rest assured, no matter what happens, I'm on your side. Uncle Chen, Ren Wongshuan also came down with her school bag. Chen Gang managed only a weak smile. He was not in the mood to joke with Ren Wongshuan, focusing only on Ren Kaiyan. Mr. Ren, you're the only one who can help with this matter. Can you contact Bai Lian for me? Ren Wongshuan bowed her head, slowly changed her shoes. Her hand paused upon hearing Chen Gang's request. Ren Kaiyan felt a jolt in his heart, sensing that things might not be as he had imagined. What do you need Bai Lian for? Chen Gang held the cup in his hand. Overnight, Xiangcheng had turned upside down. It seems you haven't received the news yet. He looked at Ren Kaiyan. The Li family got into trouble yesterday and was sealed off. Xiangcheng took over a group of people from Jiangjing overnight, and the only thing I could find out is that this matter is related to Bai Lian and Chen Yi. Chen Gang didn't even meet the Li family. He asked the relevant personnel, and the answer he always got was, it's classified. Fortunately, he had made the right connections in his daily life, and finally someone told him that one of the parties involved was Bai Lian. This is why he came to the Ren family. He remembered Bai Lian was Jai Xiaorong's niece. Ren Wongshuan's hand, which was tying her shoelaces, suddenly stopped. She's related to Chen Yi. Ren Kaiyan also lost his color considerably. As for the Jai family, he never took them seriously. How could they be related to Chen Yi? Ren Wongshuan stood up. She clutched her school bag tightly and suddenly spoke up. Maybe it's because she played the white-robed journey at the school anniversary. Ren Kaiyan and Chen Gang both looked at her. Bai Lian learned the Guzheng, Ren Wongshuan said, her eyes downcast and her mind in disarray. That day at the school anniversary, she intentionally played the white-robed journey. Everyone knows the Chen family likes the white-robed journey. It must be because of this. After finishing speaking, she took her school bag and went to school. Behind her, Ren Kaiyan also recovered his composure, saying to himself that the Jai family, how could they possibly be connected to Chen Yi? If it was because of the white-robed journey, then it made sense. So, did Ren Kaiyan suddenly realize that Bai Lian was actually fine? Not only fine, but had also gained Chen Yi's appreciation. Ren Kaiyan suddenly took out his mobile phone, trying to call Jai Xiaorong, but the call didn't go through. He sat on the sofa in a daze, feeling regret for the first time. So, the Jai family didn't really want to ask for his help yesterday. Then his actions last night. Jai Xiaorong must have sensed it. As you can see, I can't get in touch with Bai Lian either. Ren Kaiyan looked at Chen Gang and sighed. I think you should not get involved in the Li family's affair. It was just for show, and now that it's been discovered by Chen Yi, you'd better back away if you can. As for Bai Lian, Ren Kaiyan then made a phone call to Ren Jiawei's assistant. The two of them spoke for a few moments. After hanging up the phone, Ren Kaiyan looked at Chen Gang. It seems like they are looking for a Guzheng teacher for Bai Lian. On Jiang Fulai's side, Director Chen had been waiting downstairs since dawn. When Jiang Fulai appeared, dressed in a black shirt, he quickly stood up, respectfully handing over Jiang He's watch with a shamed expression. Jiang Shao, the arrangements with the Li family and Xiang Cheng have been completed. It was almost a complete overhaul. Jiang Fulai just stood there, his cold gaze sweeping over him. Like the calm, dark sea before a storm. Director Chen's body trembled. Just as Director Chen was about to cry, a lazy voice came from behind him. Where is Jiang He? Director Chen turned in relief, turning his head sharply back. He then saw Bai Lian walking in nonchalantly from the outside, dressed in the most basic school uniform, her long hair pinned up behind her head, her face against the rising sun, holding a string of red Chinese knots in her pale fingers. Jiang Fulai retracted his gaze and then reached out to take the watch. He's upstairs and won't come down. I'll go take a look. Bai Lian put down her school bag. She had promised Jiang He that she would visit him and naturally wouldn't break her word. Jiang Fulai took Bai Lian upstairs to see Jiang He. Jiang He had been frightened yesterday and had slept all night after taking a sedative. Now he was already awake, sitting in front of a small table, quietly painting with a brush in his hand. Bai Lian walked quietly to his side. Jiang He was drawing the Xiangcheng building. The Xiangcheng building. It was also her profile picture. The lines here are wrong. Bai Lian watched for a while, then bent down, took his hand, and lazily helped him with a few strokes. The building is supposed to be in a state of disrepair. With her hand on Jiang He's, she added a few soulful strokes to his craftsman-like drawing. Jiang Fulai didn't come close, just leaning against the door, watching intently as she taught Jiang He to paint. The morning sun had not yet fully risen, and a few rays of light passed through Jiang He's small window, quietly shining on the girl's translucent profile, creating a play of light and shadow that brought a burst of vitality to the room. After completing a painting, Jiang He looked at the vivid and perfect drawing, raised his head, and admired Bai Lian's little face filled with amazement. His mouth slightly ajar, his round eyes brimming with adoration. Jiang Fulai snapped out of it, surprised that Bai Lian could paint too. He approached, bent slightly, and took a glance. After looking, Director Jiang, the human photocopy machine, was somewhat silent. He began to understand why his teacher had trembled while saying he didn't have the talent when he first tried painting. Bai Lian leisurely set down her paintbrush, leaning on Jiang He's desk with one arm and tilting her head to examine the painting she finished moments ago. Her verdict was, "Jiang Zionea, with your skills, did your teacher really not die of frustration?" Though he was only 7, but already an award winner, Jiang He. Was she not here to see his work today? Speaking of this, Bai Lian suddenly remembered the cat on Jiang Fulai's notebook. She tilted her head. "Teacher Jiang Yu." Jiang Fulai suddenly stood up, glanced at the time on his phone, his expression unchanged, his tone calm as if aloof. "Your class is about to start, I'll take you to school." At this hour, taking the bus would definitely make her late for school. Bai Lian glanced at him and didn't refuse. "Okay." But as they were going downstairs, Bai Lian, following leisurely behind Jiang Fulai, spoke up again. "Teacher Jiang, besides the fact that your cat doesn't look much like a cat, everything else is good." Jiang Fulai picked up his keys, heaved a light sigh as he knew that notebook was nothing but trouble. Downstairs, Police Chief Chen and Ming Dingheng stood aside, swept by an icy glance from Jiang Fulai, and strove to pretend they heard nothing. Once the two had left, having dodged a bullet, Police Chief Chen finally breathed a sigh of relief. He sat on the couch, poured himself a glass of cold tea, gulped it down, and then said to Ming Dingheng, "Miss Bai is my lifesaver, I can't do without her." Ming Dingheng crossed his arms, looking at him dispassionately. It was hard to disagree. "By the way," Police Chief Chen remembered something, looking at Ming Dingheng, "do you know about the new god listed in the fighting ring? Backer Street Fighting Ring, where gods are made." The Muay Thai champion Tongpa became a legend there and took the world by storm. All the major forces were watching closely. Ming Dingheng shook his head. He had been recently searching for his master and was not focused on this matter. "This person isn't using his real name, just an alias." Police Chief Chen tapped his fingers on the couch. "In just a week, he climbed from last place in the fighting ring to the top 10. Ming Dingheng startled. The Ming family and Chen family both revered martial prowess. No weakling could stay close to Jiang Fulai. With the ring attracting masters from all over the globe, including champions like Tongpa, even making it to the top 10 was a tall order. What's the alias? There weren't many top fighters in the world that could rank in the top 10, and Ming Dingheng counted them off in his mind. "The alias is quite peculiar." Police Chief Chen put down his teacup, looking at Ming Dingheng. "It's White Tank Top. Chen Jingyu might come looking for him." "White Tank Top." Ming Dingheng repeated the name silently. "Pretty cool name." Bai Lian sat in the passenger seat. She rolled down the window, resting her elbow lazily on it, her gaze fixated on the receding scenery outside. Every time she rode in a car, it felt as fresh and exciting as the first time. "Haven't you been doing the problems on the app?" At a red light, Jiang Fulai stopped the car, recalling that morning when he checked and saw someone still had a 0 for their score, the very last place. Bai Lian leaned back in her seat, supporting her cheek with her palm. "It's difficult, Teacher Jiang. Isn't a score of 0 quite embarrassing for you?" Inside there were biology and chemistry problems, and as luck would have it, the first question she encountered this month was chemistry. "What a pain." "No," the light turned green. Jiang Fulai glanced at her and earnestly explained, "They wouldn't dare." Shortly after, they arrived at the entrance of the first high school. Jiang Fulai parked the car. Bai Lian waved at him before blending into the sea of students entering the school. It was the busiest time for the school rush hour. Zhang Fulai didn't drive off immediately, watching Bai Lian's figure until she was out of sight. It was apparent that she was quite popular at school, especially after the weekend celebration. No sooner had Bai Lian joined the crowd than a burst of exclamations erupted from the students. Zhang Fulai sat in the car, an icy expression on his face as he watched the group of students, his demeanor as chill and sharp as a longsword's blade. When Bai Lian reached Class 15, classes had not yet started. Yang Lin hasn't arrived yet. Bai Lian put away her backpack, looked at Yang Lin's empty seat, and knocked on Ning Zio's desk behind her. Pu Ziohan and Zhang Shai's were always late, but Yang Lin was almost certainly at school by 6. Ning Zio looked up. She hasn't come, not for the first time either. Bai Lian took out her books one by one. Her brows furrowed. Yang Lin had missed the first 2 classes. Bai Lian went to the office to ask Lu Lingxi about this, and when Lu Lingxi heard Yang Lin had not arrived, her brows also tightened slightly. Never mind, focus on your class. Lu Lingxi clearly knew something, yet said nothing more, only asking Bai Lian about her day yesterday. Bai Lian shared what she felt she could tell. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the video and comment down if anything wrong in the story. And if have any suggestion to a new novel or want next part of any series, comment down. Our target is to get 1K subscriber. There will be SUPRISC for all of you. Stay tuned.